Have you ever thought about giving other people what they want? I thought about that a lot because there seems to be a lot of things that talk about you getting what you want. But is there really anything out there? And I took a look to see if there was anything available of giving other people what they want. And truthfully, I didn't find anything. Here's a number of things that I did find. It says How to Become a Happy Person was put out by Lifehack, and all of us know that. And then Answer Bag said, How do I become happy? Another article, because there were no books. And then WikiHow said, How to be happy. There wasn't anything that said, How do you make others happy? Then another one was 10 effective ways to become happy. And then How to Become a Happy Person, 3 ways to getting fulfillment in your life. And then the definition of happiness. Happiness quotes, happiness thoughts. Because happiness, friends, is a perfume that you not only have for yourself, but happiness is a perfume that you can pour on the hearts and the attitudes of other people. It's interesting. Remember, in life, there are only 2 kinds of people. There are those that want you to be happy with what you do. And then there are those who want to do what makes you happy. I was just reading something that someone else here in our office had, and they were talking about how it was that in order to be a wife and a mother, that there was such sacrifice to it. Well, I don't think as a husband and a father, there's really any sacrifice for me. I just believe that I've been placed here in life to be able to make other people happy. So here are 5 relationships that you need to please. And how do you do that? Number 1 is giving God what He wants. How do I give God what He wants? Not just me getting from God what I want, but how do I give God what He wants? And that is surrender. Surrendering to God. Because giving up what you want is the beginning of giving God what He wants. Now, everything that we talk about from every angle has a biblical base to put alongside of it. Happiness isn't anything except a command from God. In the book of Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse number 7, it says that you are to be happy. That's something that you are and something that we bring into the lives of others. Now, the Apostle Paul talked about it in 1 Corinthians 6:19. He said, what? Don't you know that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which you have from God and you are not your own? He said, for you're bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God with your body and with your spirit, which are God's. Well, who is the one who is called the father of our faith? Abraham, right? Well, where did Abraham have a surrender toward God? In the book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse number 1, God speaks to Abraham and He says, Abraham says, Here I am. Here I am, Lord. And He said, now take your son. There's God speaking to Abraham. He said, take your son, your only son Isaac, take him up on the mountain and offer him to me there. This is what God is actually asking of Abraham. And in verse number 3, it says, and Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took 2 of his young men with him and his son Isaac. He took him up on the mountain. But there are also ways that you and I can actually refuse to give God what He wants. Now Saul, the first king of Israel, what he did was that instead of waiting for Samuel to come by and make an offering to the Lord, Saul went out to do it all by himself because he was afraid of what the people were going to do. Remember, fearing God actually gives God pleasure, but fearing man may actually give you what you're looking for at the moment, but you've actually destroyed your relationship with God when you did that. So here it was that Saul, he went out there and he dealt with the Amalekites, but he didn't do everything God wanted him to do. And Saul was then telling Samuel, hey, look, Samuel, I did everything God wanted me to do. And Samuel said, hey, look, what's this bleating of the sheep, this lowing of the ox? And Samuel said, has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as he does in obeying the voice of the Lord? Why? Because Saul didn't obey God. Saul did what he wanted. The first thing that you need to do is in bringing God pleasure, is you need to obey God's voice. Jesus said it in Matthew 26. Here it was that Jesus was now kind of coming toward the end of his life. He's wondering whether or not that he needs to go to the cross and be sacrificed, to be crucified. And he goes out to this Garden of Gethsemane and he falls on his face. When he falls on his face, he said, oh, Father, if it be possible, he said, let this cup pass from me. He said, but nevertheless, not as I will. He said, but it's what you want. And then in verse 42, he said, oh, my Father, unless, let this cup pass from me, but if it's not going to pass from me except I drink it, he said, your will be done. Honestly, your will be done. I want to sacrifice myself for you. Whatever it is that you're looking for is what I want to be able to give you. Now, when I give someone in life what they want, who is in my life that I can give what they want to? Well, the second one, not only do I give God surrender, but I give authority in life what they want. Now, that doesn't make me any less of a person, but let's just say that I am an employee somewhere. If I want to go on in my career, if I want to be promoted, if I want to actually go up the corporate ladder, what I do is I have a boss, or I have certain rules, or I have certain things that I must perform in order for me to become promoted. But what is it that my boss really wants? Respect. What is it that a husband really wants in his home? He wants respect. A boss actually provides a place where I can actually make some money, and a husband provides for his home those things which are necessary for the home so that the home can actually be in harmony. Now, Esther, who was a Jewess, she actually was chosen to be queen over Vashti. Now, Vashti was the most beautiful woman in all the Persian Empire. The Bible doesn't really say that Esther was really absolutely beautiful, but there was something about Esther, something that she had that the others did not, and that was respect. In the book of Esther, chapter 5, verse number 8, when Esther wanted to go and save the Jewish people away from the destruction that Haman had set for them, she says to the king, she said, now, king, if I've found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleased the king, if you're pleased with me, if I've found favor in your sight, then I'm asking the king to be able to give me what I want. And the king says, I'll give you what you want, even up to half my kingdom. I'll do it. Why? Because she respected the king. Vashti did not. And Vashti was actually taken out of her place as being queen. He divorced her. He divorced her over her attitude. Think of that. But Esther was given favor because of her attitude. What about Ruth? Ruth actually served her mother-in-law And then she was chosen by Boaz, and she became the mother of Obed, and Obed was the Jesse's father, and Jesse was the father of David. Here it was, this Moabitess, this woman who was completely out of God's will. She was in the lineage of Jesus because what it was that she respected Boaz, and she respected Naomi, and that opened the door for her to gain the place that she did in the lineage of Jesus. Pretty interesting. The third thing in pleasing others is that giving your employer what he wants. What does your employer want? See, it's not all about me. What does your employer want? Your employer wants someone to come in and solve problems. It's problem solving. That's really what it is. You see, it's confronting problems that others refuse to face. When there's a problem solver in your life, someone that you know that you can just tell something to and that they're on it right away and they're fixing it, man, you can't ask for more. I tell you, that's really a big thing for me. So what can you do in order to be the problem solver in the life of those that are around you? You can confront problems that others refuse to face. You have to ask yourself, what neglected problems are you willing to solve? Are you called to solve problems that other people only sneer at? Are you willing to do? Are you willing to do whatever is asked to become influential in the marketplace? I remember I was in a nation, speaking in this nation, and I had the 250 top business leaders of an entire nation in a room, and I was speaking for the Queen at this particular time. And when I was speaking for her, and I got done with my presentation and sat down, I was sitting next to her, and she leaned over to me and she said, if the people that are in this room today would do the very things that you said about problem solving, there would not be a problem in our entire nation. Remember, you are not rewarded for your similarities to others. You're rewarded for your differences. There are always lazy people. There are always people that are doing just enough to get by, but that's not you. You're a person that solves problems that others are unwilling to solve. You become an individual that is wanting to do those things that are going to solve the problems for the people that you're in life with. Daniel, one of the children of Israel that was taken away and actually kidnapped or survived. He survived the destruction of the entire nation when Nebuchadnezzar came over and overtook Israel. Him, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These people were saved out of it all because they were the brightest. The first thing that happened to them was that they were castrated. They could no longer have a family. They no longer could have sexual relationships with people. They couldn't do anything. But still, what Daniel did was Daniel became the kind of servant that the king really needed. And Daniel solved the king's greatest problem. Because remember, the king had a dream for something, and no one in his entire kingdom could solve this problem. But Daniel solved that problem for him. And all the way up till Daniel was 93 years old, we see that Daniel solved the problems for the kingdom, even when he was lied about, even when they told on him so that he would not bow down to the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. It was interesting. Daniel then was promoted to be the head over all of Israel, all of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom in Babylon. Joseph was set above all of Egypt. Why? Because He interpreted a dream. He had the wisdom to be able to make something good happen. So what does your employer really want? What does he want out of people? The first thing he wants is intelligence. Know about what you're doing. Have more information about it than everyone else that's around you. Secondly, he wants a person that's accountable. That you're going to be accountable for the things that have been placed under your charge. The third thing is integrity. Integrity, being honest with others and being honest with yourself. Always having the business best, the best in mind for the business. Also, what you need to have when you work for someone else, and an employer really wants this, he wants likability in the people that work for him. Why? Because you're going to talk to other people. You're going to represent him or her to other individuals. So you need to be likable. A person also needs to have teamwork. Because teamwork, what's that thing that says teamwork makes the dream work? That's what an employer wants. And then he wants competence. Competence. You being competent in the kind of things that you do. Always be competent. I can tell you that in times of my life, that the reason why that I've chosen certain directions that I've taken is because of incompetence. The incompetence of those that were close to me. I couldn't put any greater weight upon them because they just weren't competent. They couldn't do it. Then the fourth thing we need to know about giving others what they want is about giving friends what they want. What do our friends want? Friends want love. Friends want understanding. Friends want confidentiality. Friends want to be understood. Friends want to be listened to. Friends, my friends. And friends also want someone who's actually going to tell them the truth. But remember, if you're someone's friend, if you have to have a strong talking to in life, then you've already made your decision that you're going to listen to what's being said to you. That's really, really important. Jesus had this problem with the rich young ruler. He came to him and said, Jesus, what do I do that I may inherit eternal life? Jesus said, well, you know the commandments. He said, don't do this, and don't do that. He said, but Master, he said, all of these things have I observed from my youth. And the Bible says that Jesus looked at him and he loved him. You see, if you're going to place yourself in a relationship, you need to be willing to hear the hard discussions that are going to come at you. You don't need to blow anyone off. You don't need to put anyone out of your life because of what you perceive that they're going to be saying to you. But this rich young ruler didn't do that. When Jesus said, now look, you've done all of those things, but one thing you lack. Go sell what you have and give to the poor, and you'll have riches in heaven. The Bible says that he went away sorrowful at that saying because he had great riches. That isn't true. That man walked away from worshiping God a long time ago because it was great riches that had him. He didn't have great riches. And then, friends, remember, number 5. And this really, to me, is the culmination of giving life what it needs. Giving life what it wants. Life really wants seed. Your future really wants what you want to have inside of it. Remember that life will give you everything that you give it. Life can't give you anything that you don't give. It's almost like putting a seed, having a seed over here just on your counter and saying, you know what, I'll give you some soil as soon as you start growing. It's like putting it in the pot. You put it in the pot, it's underneath the ground, you can't see it. But yet, at the same time, you say, well, I'll give you some water as soon as you start shooting up. No. Remember, you first. What is it that you want? You want that seed to grow? You need to water it. If what you do is you walk around life with a bunch of hate, it will never work for you. But if what you do is you choose, if you choose to love, to care, to speak good words, to not be self-centered, but to be God-centered and other-centered, then what you're going to do is you're going to find everything that you need in life. The Apostle Paul said it like this. He said, this I say then, he that sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. But the one who plants bountifully, he's going to receive an abundant crop. He said, remember this, every man according as he purposes in his heart. You're experiencing today what you've purposed in your heart. Never forget that. Touching the world with the gospel is a team sport. It's not done by one particular individual. The Apostle Paul said that, one waters, one plants, but it's God who gives the increase. And so for me, I'd like for you to partner with me to become part of actually taking this gospel around the world. The Bible tells us to give, and it shall be given to us. God is always interested in bringing to us a reward. Why is that? Because unless we have the reward, unless we have the return on the things that we've given, how in the world could we ever give again? And God's always searching for those that are givers. Would you be one of those with me? If you desire to be a partner with us, please just go over into the column on the side of the app right now, and then become a part of helping me take this gospel around the world. And remember this, never forget it. Stay sweet.